Good afternoon, good morning, everybody. Welcome to another episode from the Jason's Take On podcast series. It's myself, Jason Noble, over here in pitch black, freezing cold London, and Jason Whitehead. Go over say a quick hello there.
Hi, everyone. Coming to you live from Washington, D.C.
We have another exciting episode today with a very special guest that I'm sure everybody here knows very well. It is none other than Dan Steinman from Gainsight. Dan has been in this industry as the thought leader for many years. Everybody knows Dan in this industry, and we're really thrilled to have you with us. Dan, say hello to everyone.
Hello from California, sunny California. So apologize for your weather in London, Jason. But
yes, you didn't leave us the good weather when you left.
Somehow our impact in London didn't have anything to do with the weather.
Dan, look, a huge thank you for joining us. Like I said, I think most of our listeners, if not everybody, knows who you are, but I'd love it if you could just give a quick intro, kind of just saying where you're at. I know I've known you for a good few years now with my interactions with using Gainsight as a customer, but I've known you through the industry and known you when you've been over here in London and now back there. But if you could just say hello.
Yeah, never in my life did I ever think I'd be the person who needs no introduction, but I guess that's kind of what you just said. Yeah, so thrilled to be with you. I love doing these things. Jason, I just love talking about customer success. Been my passion for many years. I've been doing it now for close to 20 years. I had my first VP of customer success job, I think in 2008. And I never looked at LinkedIn, but I wish I could go back and look to see how many people there were in the world with that title. But I know for sure it was less than 20 in the entire world. So yeah, a little bit has changed in the last 8 years, where customer success is the fastest growing profession, and there's thousands of VPs of customer success. Every recurring revenue business has to have a customer success team. So I've been at Gainsight now for it'll be 9 years sometime early next year. So it's been an amazing ride, but the best part of it has just been watching the community grow and come together. And it's such a unique community in the spirit of collaboration and sharing and camaraderie that just it just doesn't happen in other industries. Like, you can't get a bunch of salespeople together and have that same feeling, because they're all lone wolves and they're doing their own thing and they're all the best at what they do. And you get a bunch of customer success people together and it feels like a family reunion, and they never want to leave, and all they want to do is share with each other to make each other's life easier. So it's been a really good kind of personality fit for me, and I've enjoyed the heck out of it.
I think that sharing thing is something that I talk about a lot, and I know you guys do, but it is something that is, as you say, it's so unique, and there really isn't another industry where someone in the network can just reach out to you and you can just have that conversation. It is that level of passion, and it's that wanting to help each other, which I think is a really wonderful trait to have.
Yeah.
It's really, particularly given the year we've had.
Yeah, I think that's why it draws a certain kind of people who have a passion for more of that. So it becomes a self-fulfilling prophecy. Like, that looks like my kind of place. And I can't tell you the number of ex-salespeople I've met who found their way into customer success. And then sometimes they're personally thanking me for inventing customer success. And my answer is, well, I didn't do that, but I'm glad you found your way home. And that's one of the catchphrases we've started to use. Is somebody told me once they were a teacher and then they became customer success. And then there's a sales guy who became customer success. And one of them used the term finally home. They've been searching for the right place in their career. And when they found customer success, they were finally home. So we turned it into a hashtag, finally home.
It's a great hashtag to have as well.
Yeah, it really is.
It's not just about work. It says something that means something to people.
Yeah, that's right. Now, the word home is super meaningful, right?
Dan, I know 2020 has been a very challenging year for all of us. I think with global pandemic, a lot of us have had to change how we work. We've had to change how we deal with customers. But what are some of the big moves and changes in customer success over the last kind of 12 months that you've seen?
Yeah, this is actually a common answer, where COVID is a double-edged sword, as are so many things in life. It's really been damaging in a whole bunch of ways. And in some weird ways, it's been really powerful in a positive way. And so for the customer success community, it's been both of those things. Almost every company knows that when COVID hit, a whole bunch of churn came along with it. Because one of the things a crisis points out is, where are the cracks in your foundation? And we all have customers who aren't where we'd like them to be. And then something comes along and says, hey, we have to cut costs. Where do we do that? They look at your piece of software and they say, sorry, it's not like I don't like you guys, but it just doesn't make the cut in this kind of situation. So that happened a lot. I was advising a company where a third of our small businesses churned during that time. But on the other side of that, there's like this crest in the hill. If you're short of the crest, you slide back down during a crisis. And if you're just over the top of it, it slides in a positive direction. So what happened was at Gainsight and a number of other companies, if you had customers to a point where they were getting value and they were really buying into the philosophy, COVID strengthened their desire to drive success with their customers because it became necessary. They could see all the churn happening in the rest of their business. So it increased the focus on customers across a whole bunch of our customers, and I think across the industry as well. So it was really literally this knife that cut a whole bunch of companies away and then cut a whole bunch of companies to the point where they drove more success and became way more focused, because most companies' sales slowed way down. So if you're not driving sales with all of your resources, your other opportunity then is to turn towards your customers and say, can we get more out of them, or can we at least make them more loyal and more successful? So when we come out of this, we'll have a chance for success with them. So we saw both of those. At Gainsight, we had unexpected churn, but we also had a bunch of companies who doubled down on customer success because they suddenly realized how important it was.
Wow, that's fantastic. And it's great to hear that too. I think with everything that's going on, it's been such a turbulent year and so much shift. And at the same time, companies have learned they've got to pivot quickly and they've got to figure out how to do things they've never had to do before. So if they did, and sometimes they did it well, sometimes they didn't. I'm really curious to get your take on both that experience and then coupled with the maturing of the CS industry and practices and products and things out there, both long-term and short-term, and also with long-term later. What do you see as the biggest challenge and need going forward in customer success, like in the next 12 months or so, as the world continues to change and hopefully things get a bit better?
Yeah, I think the maturing of an industry has become a science. You can map out where an industry is at certain points along the path and what they need to do then to continue to grow. And I think customer success is on that journey, probably still on the upside because it's not accepted universally. It's still primarily a thing that happens inside of tech companies. It hasn't transferred into the rest of the world in the same way, although it's interesting, the rest of the world really watches technology closely, like what's happening in the tech world. That's what we need to be. And you could argue that the biggest change in customer success over the next several years is just a change that's going to happen in the world, is already happening, which is every single company in the world is becoming a technology company. Yep. The old Mark Andreessen quote, software is eating the world, is so true, and more true today than it was 6 years ago when he wrote that. And as companies become technology driven, right, they're not selling technology, but they're technology driven. I think that turns them towards technology companies and saying, how do they do business? How do they work? And if customer success and CRM and agile engineering and all those kinds of things are happening in tech companies, the rest of the world starts to look at that and say, hey, we should do that. And we see this, there are times when we're working with a prospect who's not a technology company, and we're scrambling to try to find a reference for them that's not a technology company. And they're like, no, we don't want Procter & Gamble as a reference, even if you have them. We want to talk to one of your small SaaS companies because that's who we need to be more like. We don't need to be this big consumer company. We need to be much more like that small SaaS company. And it's really quite startling and a reminder all the time that agility and the ability to change course, as you mentioned, Jason, is so prevalent in smaller companies, but it's especially something that's tied to tech companies. For some reason, they think we're way more agile maybe than we really are. Like we don't struggle with all the same things, and you guys know we do. But I think that's one of the things I see changing is there's these concentric circles of adoption of customer success. And first one was SaaS companies, and then it became a little broader, it was tech companies, and then it was tech-driven companies. But over the next several years, I think customer success becomes a thing for all companies, because even the simplest retailer in the world is basically in a subscription business or a recurring revenue business. You need to get those customers to come back into your store and buy again. So this idea of customer loyalty is part and parcel of their business, but they've never thought of it in the terms that we do with regard to customer success. So I think that's the biggest trend, is it's just going to continue to expand out, and more companies are going to be surprisingly adopting the philosophy of customer success.
Yeah, I think you're right around that. And one of the things that I enjoy too is through this process of the COVID restrictions and companies having to pivot so quickly, I think they're realizing that technology really is the key to being able to do that. And I think many of them have also had an awareness of how much they struggle to actually adopt technology and get value from it, and to really rely on it and to get the full value from it. And it's almost like the customers themselves are starting to realize that they need to do more to drive their own success.
That's such a good point, Jason. I think one of the drivers of customer success is companies realizing that they don't adopt technology very well. And what they're really saying is, gosh, I wish our vendor would do customer success and help us and push us and force us to adopt these products. Because you buy a product and 2 years later, you're like, oh, 9 people are using it. We were going to roll it out to 1,000. What went wrong? And what went wrong is customer success, whether you do it internally or whether your external vendor drives it for you.
It's always amazed me how software vendors have customer success teams, but their buyers, their customers don't have their own corresponding internal success team, and they absolutely should.
Yeah, there's a world in which an IT organization at a big company should have a customer success department to drive the success of the products that they're rolling out inside of their company. That really is, we think about that as a possible future use case of Gainsight, where an internal company uses it just to measure adoption of the products that they're rolling out internally.
We actually had one client where we came in to help them set up just that, an internal adoption success team. They were doing a corporate CRM rollout across all 50 states. And they brought us in 6 months before they even selected the vendor, because they knew that they had such a struggle there. So I hope to see more of that.
Yeah, it's so great for the industry too, because then there's that many more customer success jobs. Right? Exactly. And you have many more, if you're a CSM or have CSM experience, now you have many more companies that you can be choosing to go to work for. Right now, all of the world opens up if IT organizations are building customer success departments.
I think that really is something that I think we've probably started to see it with the pandemic and the big shift, particularly with the larger organizations, that they're having to accelerate. Perhaps there's been these big digital transformation programs that have taken them 6-7 years, and suddenly they've got to do something quickly and overnight. And you've got the business leaders in these organizations standing back and saying, hang on a minute, why did that take you so long before? Why couldn't you do this so quickly? And that idea, I love that idea of having effectively a CS leader or team within your organization, because you look at the number of technology products that are coming into an organization now across all different functions in the business, and it's not led by IT. It's led by business leaders. Marketing might bring in 4, 5, 6 different platforms, but who's helping them drive it? Like you said, Jason, it's that adoption piece. Who is doing it? And I'm excited to think that kind of internal CS organization is going to be one of the next booming things. And I think it really is, particularly in these bigger organizations that struggle with that change and agility, exactly like you said, Dan.
Yeah, and I think to answer your question again, Jason, about what's the future look like, I think the arc of customer success is so far has been very similar, if not identical, to the arc of CRM. And if you want to know where customer success is 10 years from now, look where CRM was 10 years after it started. And I think there's so many similarities, metaphors, and analogies between kind of Salesforce and Gainsight and CRM and customer success. But today, think about if you're a CRM vendor like Salesforce, you do customer success because it matters to drive upsell, but you don't have to do it anymore to mitigate churn for the most part, because every organization that buys CRM knows how to use it, knows how to roll it out, knows how to administer it, et cetera. So that customer success thing inside of the IT organization has already happened with regard to CRM. They never called it that, but it was accepted that we better know how to use CRM technology because we have to have CRM to be successful. And I think as a vendor, you always hope for this, that your industry becomes something that is so must have that there's no more question about the value of it. You just accept that it's required, just like Wi-Fi and electricity,
All that good stuff.
running water and things like that, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
What do you, if you look more short term, Dan, what do you think are some of the big changes and innovations that we're going to see in customer success next year? So over the next 12 months in 2021, so looking more short term.
Yeah, I think this answer is going to sound a little trite, Jason, because of this answer as well, and that is scalability. Everybody worries about this. I think one of the things I've realized over the years is if you had unlimited resources, customer success is not a problem because you can throw bodies at the problem. And that's why for companies that sell really big ticket software, for example, they're doing customer success with people one-on-one. And they don't need technology in the same way that the rest of the world does because they can be very inefficient and still be effective. If you have a $5 million customer, you could throw 3 people at it. And even if they're not very efficient, as long as they get the job done and you preserve that $5 million contract, everything's good. But if you take that same idea and say, how about $5 million worth of $20,000 a year customers? You can't throw 3 people at it. You can't even throw 300 people at it and be successful. It has to be driven by technology. And one of the things I've found over the years in customer success is that anything you do for the small part of your business, or what we call the long tail, is going to have tremendous impact on all of your customers up the pyramid from the bottom up. So scalability to figure out how can you do customer success effectively at scale without throwing bodies at it is probably the biggest driver of customer success. And I think one of the ways that's going to happen, and this is happening already, but will really take root in the next couple of years, and that is how do you combine customer success and product success? Because the only real scalable thing in your business is your product. So if you're going to scale customer success, it has to come through doing things in your product, because you can do email campaigns and webinars and all sorts of things that are scalable, but nothing is as impactful as delivering something in your product that makes a difference with regard to user adoption and clear ROI and retention and things like that. So we call it product success, but we think product success and customer success have to come together, much like marketing and sales have done in the CRM and marketing automation worlds. And even marketing automation and CRM aren't even used anymore as separate things, because if you buy Salesforce, you're buying marketing automation with it. And if you buy Adobe, you're buying marketing automation and Oracle and everyone else. So we think product success, customer success come together, and the product managers are going to become part customer success managers. Not only how do I build a product that's useful, but how do I build a product that teaches the user how to use it and measures the ROI along the way and intervenes into the user's kind of path of using the product in a positive way to lead them down the path of more value. So I think that's one of the biggest things that will happen over the next few years, or even in the next year. That's going to be a really big thing for customer success.
That's great. One of the things that we've often talked about has been the idea that in the next few years, companies that have really effective customer success services that they provide will be more sought after from a new customer perspective, and that they'll start to actually put into their vendor selection criteria. What are the services that they provide, and how impactful are they? How much can we rely on getting value as opposed to getting features from this?
Yeah.
I guess my question is, what are your thoughts on that? And have you already started to see amongst your customers where they're competing on the quality of their customer success services? And do you see that increasing?
I think so. I often say this to companies to try to wake them up a little bit. And it's right to your point, Jason. If customer success is not a slide in your sales deck, then you're not doing it well enough.
That's a
right?
great way to put it.
Think about that. If customer success is not something you're talking about in your initial sales deck, that means your company is not doing it well enough, because it should be seen by the salespeople as a differentiator. And it has to be. That's got to be the customer success team's driver. Let's make sure that our customer success is so good that it differentiates us from our customers. Because a smart prospect is not just thinking about what can your product do, but what does your company do for me? Because especially in a SaaS world where each product is much more kind of purpose-driven, departmental solution, those companies have to be buying a long-term thought leadership, not just a product. Because if I buy the product and it works perfectly today and never changes, it's not worth buying. Because if you buy Gainsight today and we weren't looking 2 years ahead of what's going to be needed and building what's going to be needed 2 years from now, we would not be successful as a company. And we expect the same thing when we buy. If you buy Salesforce, you're saying, yeah, I want CRM in a pipeline, but I want way more than that 2 years from now. And you bet better than I do what I'm going to need. Same with marketing automation, same with invoicing and ERP and all those. So I think you're so spot on, Jason. And especially when this happens, and it happens to every company, there's a growth stage of almost every company. But then there's a stage where the growth flattens. But you want your company to not lose value when the growth slows down. The only solution to that is either acquire other businesses to boost that growth or get more out of your install base. And that's where customer success becomes really important. And if you want to sell that, you got to be really good at it. And then when you're selling in a situation where every sale is critical because you don't have that growth, the ability to sell what's going to happen and how you're going to treat that customer in the long run is probably as valuable, if not more valuable, than here's how we compete with our competitors on features and functions. And we've always done this, right? We've always talked about support and our onboarding and all the other aspects. But now I think we need to take that really seriously and say, here's how we're going to treat you as a customer. And that's going to make a difference against what our competitors would be doing.
I think that kind of idea of you buying product and service for not just that, but it's what can the company do for you is such a fundamental one. Because it's something that I've seen with a number of organizations I've worked with, and you can tell it's not just the service, it's actually they want you to help them change their business and drive more value for them and for their customers. And it's I think a lot of people can find it frustrating because that's not something that's achieved once they've gone live or launched the product. That is something that is a much longer journey. And that ultimate kind of lifetime value for them is more significant, but it takes a lot longer to get there. And it's a lot harder and there can be a lot more challenges. But that's when I think you really are doing what your customers want. You're there providing that thought leadership, that guidance, that help for them.
Yeah, I used to say this to prospects many years ago, and I really believe this, and it applies to every industry. But as a customer success vendor, this was my statement. If you're going to select a customer success vendor, my suggestion is to never see a demo. Just go figure out which company does customer success the best, and they're going to be the best vendor for you for two reasons. Number one, you're going to get the world's best customer success. And number two, you're going to get the best product in customer success because they're serious about doing it. And you can't do it well unless you have the best product. So those things go together. And I just thought, if you could figure out who does customer success the best, you should just go buy their product without ever even seeing a demo. And that was a little self-serving because we thought we did it best. But I think there's a lot of truth in that, right? If you wanted to buy the best CRM solution, go figure out which company does CRM the best. And they probably are making the best solution. And they'll help you with their thought leadership and all that stuff along the way.
That's what you want, though. It is. And I think it is. That applies to every industry. Every industry you work with, you work in every company. It's that how do we, if I want the best, who's doing the best right now?
Yeah.
And it can be a lot harder to find. It really can, because you're not just looking for a list of CRM vendors. You've got to have very different conversations with them.
Yeah, I remember when I was at Marketo, we got this question all the time, and it was the most flattering question. We just want to do marketing automation the way you do. Like when you hear that question as a vendor, you've won. Like at Gainsight, we get it once in a while too. We just want to do customer success as well as you do. When you hear that, you know that you've won in the marketplace. And it's so powerful because now you're winning on not just your product, but the way you treat the customer in the long run, which is what gives us as customer success people real satisfaction. It's not about, is our product features the coolest ones in the world? It's, are we delivering from a personal standpoint the success that we promised this customer during the sales cycle? And a lot of times that doesn't happen. Customers don't always get the success that they were promised in the sales cycle. So when we can deliver that, we ought to feel really good about it.
That's awesome. One of the things I'm curious about, we've obviously been talking about what's the future hold and what's gone on this year, next year, and all the change going on. As you look over the history of the customer success industry, what has been most surprising, most disappointing to you? And what do you think that CS leaders really need to change their thinking about in the next year or two going forward?
Yeah, I think there's still some of this lingering, maybe not as much as there used to be, but I'll say it anyway because it's really important. When we first started doing customer success, we thought it was a relationship job. When I first hired customer success people, and I could glean from an interview whether they were really good with their customers, whether their customers really liked them, or they were like, hey, my customers love me. I'm the best in the world at getting customer loyalty because they love me. That was a big plus. And I used to hire people specifically for that. Now I look at that and I say, that's a good thing. I still want people who build great relationships with their customers. But if that's what they rely on, I probably don't even want to hire them because they're not going to be successful, because we have to be much more efficient in the way we do customer success. So I want to hire somebody and tell them, you cannot win, you cannot succeed in this job by building a great relationship with every customer, because I'm going to give you way too many customers to do that with. If you're going to rely on that, you're going to fail. I need you to rely on driving value, not relationship. It's got to be about value. And you have to do that efficiently. Mm-hmm. That means you have to sacrifice the time that you used to take to get to know your customer and get to know their family and get to know their dog's names and all those kinds of things that would build the relationship. You just aren't going to have time to do that. So this switch from relationship to value, I think, has been happening. And for the most part, it's probably happened. But I think we continue to need to think about that and just say, are we delivering value? If a CSM says to me, my customers love me, I'm like, that's fine. But if I have to choose between value and love, I'm taking value every day of the week. Because your customer will only love you until their CFO asks them, what value are we getting out of the money we're spending on Gainsight? Yeah. Then the relationship goes out the window. The next conversation will be very different. It won't be about dogs and kids and birthday parties and what did you do this weekend? It'll be about how come not enough people are using my product, things like that. So I think that shift from relationship to value has to continue to happen, has to be forefront in all customer success people. And that certainly has started. And I think most companies that have been successful have changed that mentality. But I think we need to continue to be reminded that's really important.
I think you're so right. I think we have probably over the last 12 months seen more of those conversations and the idea of value and what it means for customers. And that's something that I've definitely noticed in conversations. And I think it is something that perhaps we still struggle with, because you've got to understand what that value is. And if you're getting in there very late and your customers know you're not giving me the value and you don't know what that value is, there's a problem there. So it's how you get ahead of that. But I think absolutely that is something that I really think you're so right that we are going to see more and more happening.
You really nailed it, Jason. We can talk about value all we want, but unless we understand what the actual value is to our actual customers, and it's going to be different from one customer to another in some cases, until we understand that, we can never talk about it to our customers. So we think value is the number of times they logged in. They're like, that's not valuable to me. I didn't buy your product to log in. I bought your product to solve this business problem, and it's not solved. So I'm not getting value no matter how many people are logging in. So we can really find that we have not communicated well with our customers. But if we focus on value and then go to the customer and say, what is value? What does it look like? And really understand. That's the loyalty customers really want, which is not loyalty to them personally, but loyalty to their business success. Yep. And I've always said this, your best customers are never going to be happy with you because they always want more. They're never happy with the product because they want another feature and they want it to run faster and they want it to have a higher ROI. And so your best customers, it never feels like they're happy, but they are so loyal because they're getting so much value out of your product because that's what they continually push for.
I think it's that impatience as well, isn't it? I
Yeah.
think I'm absolutely there. You think I want this, and I want this, and
Yeah.
but
Yeah.
you're seeing the value things can give you, and it's
That's
doing
right.
some, but you want more and more, and it
That's
is
right.
that
That's right.
I'm just impatient.
By the way, I've said this for years. The best thing that can happen to a small company is to have a couple of really demanding customers, because
Yep.
nothing pushes you
Yeah.
like a demanding customer. You can think you're pushing yourself. The real life analogy is you can think you're working out really hard and getting in good shape, and then you hire a personal trainer and you can't walk the next day. I thought I was pushing myself, but I guess I really wasn't, because we don't naturally push ourselves in the same way that someone else does.
I had exactly that same conversation with someone that I like running, and I'm not doing as much as I want right now for all sorts of different reasons. So, but I'm looking at a coach to help me. And that's exactly what they're saying. They're going to push you and it will hurt you.
Yeah.
Yes, I want this. I do want this.
Yeah. Yeah.
And look, a massive thank you for joining us. It's been awesome catching up. Like I say, I've known as someone that's been inspiring me in the industry for a few years. He was a friend. We had a good few drinks and stuff as well.
Yep.
But a huge thank you. The stuff that you're doing for the industry outside of Gainsight as well, what you've done within Gainsight is incredible. One question we always like to give our guests is what we call our bold challenge question. The one I'd like to pose to you is how can leaders and customer success professionals prepare themselves for the changes that we're going to see within the industry and within their customers if we start looking at the challenges we're looking at, about the shift of products and customer success and this drive for more value? What are the things that people can do to help prepare themselves better?
Yeah, again, this is going to sound a little trite, but I think if you have been in business for a while, you know this, you have to stay agile. You have to always be on your toes. The minute you start feeling comfortable, that probably means you're going out of business or you're about to lose your job because you have to push. So I think you have to stay really agile. And I think my personal opinion is the best way to do that is to stay involved in the community so that you're hearing other voices. You're not just hearing from your boss or the three peers at your company, but you're hearing from other companies and what they're going through and what they're experiencing. And it'll be different than you, and it may not be applicable, but there's a high likelihood that what some other company is going through is something that's also coming your way. So I think it's so important for us to keep the community, value those connections, listen to what other people are struggling with and dealing with, because the likelihood is you've either done it and you can share and empathize with them, or you're going to be going through it and you can learn from whatever they're going through.
Wow. Fantastic. Again, thank you so much, Dan, for joining us today. This has been wonderful.
Yeah, thank you guys. And Jason Noble, personal thank you from Gainsight for being our first customer in our new EMEA organization when you were at Good Lord, and how valuable early customers are, especially referenceable customers. You're a part of Gainsight's success for sure with your partnership there, and we really appreciate it.
You're welcome, Dan. Like Jason said, massive thank you. It's always good to catch up with you, and fascinating conversation. We'd love a future one if you're up for it.
Yeah, I feel like we could talk for 2 more hours. I still have plenty of ammunition.
I think this is how Jason and I first met, is through conversations like this, and it's you're not talking shop. It's something we're all passionate about, and we just love it. There's no right answer. We can just keep talking.
It's so funny. This is the way these kinds of things work the best. It's 3 guys sitting around at Starbucks or Costa or whatever, just talking shop, not trying to do a webinar, not scripting out questions, and just having a conversation.
Absolutely.
That's how it always feels when I talk to customer success people. It's just a conversation that helps everybody move forward. So happy to do it, and happy to do it again. You guys just let me know when.
Awesome. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Dan.
Yeah. Okay. Thanks, guys.
Bye.